going to pretend this is just another internet trend. That is what I told myself on the train to Croydon. People on TikTok kept stitching the same clip. A ruined water park, rotting slides, pools full of green water and trash. And in the middle of it all, hundreds of people in identical black puffer jackets standing motionless in the shallow end, packed together so tightly they were almost a single object. No shouting, no laughter, no lifeguards, just a silent crowd in winter clothes, ankle deep in filthy water. The captions were always the same. Day out at Croydon Water Park. Croydon really upped their game. Best water park in London. Laugh emoji, skull emoji, whatever. I thought it was staged, some prank, a music video. People will do anything for views. You see so much surreal content online that your brain forgets how reality is supposed to look. Then I saw a clip that was wrong even by internet standards. It was taken from a high diving platform, one of those concrete towers in an old leisure center. The person filming panned slowly across the pool below. The water looked almost black under the artificial light. A line of figures in black jackets stood along the edge, shoulder to shoulder, each with their hood up, heads bowed slightly. At first I thought they were just facing the pool. Then I noticed they were all looking at one point beneath the surface. The last second of the video caught it. A pocket of water in the middle of the pool bulged upward in a perfect circle, as if something underneath had exhaled. Steam rose from that spot only. The clip cut off the moment the first pair of feet stepped into the water. No laughter. No music. No ambient sound. Just that shape in the water and a sense of expectation so strong it made my skin crawl even through my phone screen. Someone in the comments wrote, "They do this every year. No one in Croydon talks about it." Someone else replied, "You can go watch if you want. Just do not wear black." The account that posted the original video disappeared by the next morning. I booked a ticket that afternoon. I told my audience I was doing an investigation into the Croydon meme. That was the excuse. The truth was uglier. I wanted to know if that bulge in the water had been an effect or something alive. I wanted to stand where that unknown crowd had stood. I wanted to hear what they were listening to. I wanted to see what happened after the clips cut off. The day I arrived, Croydon looked ordinary. Rain-stained concrete, graffiti on underpasses, pigeons, buses, people wrapped up in scarves against the cold. Nothing strange, nothing cinematic. The water park was not on any official map. I found it by following the wrong directions. Literally, every time I checked my phone, the route shifted slightly. The time to arrival never changed. 10 minutes away, then 10 minutes again, then still 10 minutes. At first I thought it was a signal issue. Then I noticed I kept passing the same vandalized bus stop, the same cracked billboard for a supermarket offer that had expired months ago, the same patch of chewing gum stuck to the pavement. The city was changing around me in tiny ways, but certain details repeated like a background in an old cartoon. Finally, I put my phone away and just listened. Under the sounds of traffic and voices, there was something else. A dull roar, like far-away water. I followed it. The water park sat behind a chain fence at the edge of a housing estate, guarded by nothing but a rusted padlock that had already been cut. The sign out front still called it Croydon Leisure Center, with a picture of a cartoon dolphin that had faded to a sickly blue-gray. The main gate hung open. No staff, no security. Inside, the air smelled of chlorine, rot, and something metallic that settled at the back of my throat. The first pool I saw was shallow and wide, painted a cheerful turquoise that the algae had turned to the color of bruised skin. Paper cups and plastic bottles floated in lazy circles. On the far side of the pool, 5 figures in black jackets sat on the concrete edge, feet in the water. For a second, I thought they were mannequins. They did not move as I approached. No shifting weight, no adjusting of sleeves. The hoods hid their faces. Their legs dangled into the green water, shoes still on. Each pair of shoes was identical. Same brand, same black rubber soles. The only difference between them was the exact line where the wet darkened the fabric. I called out, "Hello? Are you filming something?" No answer. I came closer. The closer I got, the colder the air became, as if I were walking into the shadow of a building that did not exist. My breath steamed in front of my face, even though the day was not that cold. I stopped a few meters away. "Can you hear me?" One of the figures turned its head a fraction of a degree. Not enough to see a face, just enough to show that its hood was not empty. The sound of water grew louder. I realized it was not wind. It was not natural water. It was the sound from the videos, only now I was inside it. A low, constant rush from somewhere beneath the surface. The figure that had moved lifted its foot slightly. Water dripped lazily from the shoe, falling in slow motion as if gravity had been turned down. The ripples spread outward. Every time a ripple touched the other figures, they jerked almost imperceptibly, like puppets receiving a signal through the water. My heart began to race. I backed away. As I did, all 5 heads turned toward me in perfect unison, still slightly bowed, still hidden by their hoods. I could not see any faces, but I felt observed from 5 directions at once. I left the pool area without running because some animal part of my brain was certain that if I ran, they would stand up and follow. Further inside, I found the main attraction from the clips. The huge pole slide sat like a fossilized seashell, yellowed with age, its surface streaked with rust and grime. A narrow canal led from the bowl into a long rectangular pool. The pool was full. Filthy water sloshed softly against the sides, carrying empty cans and broken tiles. No people stood around it. For a moment, I wondered if I had imagined the crowd in the videos. Maybe that was filmed somewhere else. Maybe this was just an abandoned leisure center, and the internet had mixed it with another place. Then I heard voices from behind the building. Not lively voices. Not shouting or laughter. Chanting. I followed the sound around the corner and stopped dead. The wave pool was full. Not with water, with people. Hundreds of them, packed shoulder to shoulder, wearing identical black puffer jackets with the hoods up. They stood knee-deep in the cloudy, pale blue water. The slides that curled above them were dry and silent. The noise of chanting came not from mouths, but from the faint rustle of fabric as they shifted in synchrony. From my vantage point on the steps, their faces were invisible. They all faced the same direction, toward the deep end, toward the spot where the water looked slightly different, clearer, deeper, like a hole punched through the floor of the pool. No one acknowledged me. No one turned. I could have screamed, and I doubt any of them would have reacted. The chanting stopped. Every jacketed figure lifted their right arm at exactly the same time. Not high, just enough to expose their hands from the sleeves. All their hands were the same. Pale, wet, fingers slightly longer than they should have been. They pointed at the deep end. The movement rippled through the crowd like a single organism. I should have left. Instead, like an idiot, I took out my phone and began to record. The camera trembled in my hand. In the center of the deep end, the water bulged upward. A perfectly round dome grew from the surface, glittering under the weak daylight. The bulge swelled until it rose to waist height, then chest height, then higher, without spilling over the sides. The jackets did not react. They kept their arms outstretched, fingers pointing at that swelling shape. I realized suddenly that none of them were breathing. No fogged breath in the air, no steam from mouths. The water cone shuddered. Lines appeared within it, like cords running vertically through the liquid. Something was inside it. No, not something. Many things. Shapes just darker than the water, distorted by the constant motion. The cone pulsed like a throat swallowing. A voice spoke. Not from the crowd, from the water. Welcome back. The words vibrated directly in my skull, bypassing my ears. My stomach lurched. I stumbled back against the rail. Every jacket took one step forward. The wave of movement was so precise it made me nauseous. One figure at the front of the crowd broke formation and waded toward the cone. As it approached, the others lowered their arms and bowed their heads a little more, as if in respect. The lone figure stopped with the water at mid-thigh and tilted its hood toward the bulge. The cone split at the top. A hand emerged. It was not a hand entirely. The shape was close enough to make my brain try to fit the pattern, but the proportions were off. Too many joints, too few knuckles, skin that looked like water held in tension rather than flesh. The hand pressed against the hood of the figure in front of it. The jacket convulsed once, then deflated. The body inside it collapsed silently into the water, leaving the jacket floating like a shed skin. The hand sank back into the cone, dragging something with it. Not a shape, a density, a presence. The air around me seemed to thin as if something had been removed from it. The crowd did not react. Another jacket broke formation and moved forward. Another hand emerged. Another collapse. I realized then what I was seeing. It was not a ritual. It was intake. Something in that water was collecting people, or parts of people, or something that used to be people. The puffer jackets were not clothing. They were containers, left behind when the contents were transferred. I felt the first stirrings of a thought I did not want to finish. How many had already been taken here while the internet laughed about a cursed water park? My phone buzzed. I glanced down. My live stream had started by itself. View count climbing, comments flooding in. Bro, what is this? Is this real? Lamau. Croydon is wild. Where is this exactly? The camera feed showed the scene below, but something was wrong with the image. The crowds of jackets looked darker. The water looked almost black. The bulging cone at the center was not visible at all, as if the camera refused to render it. I tried to end the stream. The button did not respond. On screen, in the corner, new text appeared. Location tag, Croydon Water Park. Underneath that, a second line. Entry available. My viewers started spamming numbers. One comment repeated again and again. Go down there. Be one of them. The water cone throbbed. The crowd of jackets turned a fraction of a degree in perfect unison, so that every hidden face was now angled toward my vantage point on the steps. The voice spoke again. You came alone. I nearly dropped the phone. The words were not directed at my ears. They were placed behind my eyes. The jacket crowd began to move, not in a rush, not attacking. They parted, creating a straight corridor through the water from the edge of the pool to the deep end. An invitation. The hand emerged from the cone again, dripping water that never quite fell. It extended toward me across the distance. Come down. I could feel hundreds of unseen eyes beneath those hoods. Not hateful, not welcoming, assessing. I thought about turning around and running. I imagined sprinting back through the empty park over the broken paving stones, out the rusted gate, onto a street that might or might not lead back to the normal city. Then the voice spoke again, quieter this time, threaded with something disturbingly close to affection. We have been waiting for you. Images flashed through my mind that were not mine. Crowds forming in other cities. abandoned pools filled with silent figures in black jackets, slides in different colors, different languages laughing on phone screens as they stitched clips with ironic captions. And under all of it, that same structure, the water, the cone, the hand. You watched us for months. You laughed. You replayed the clips. You helped us spread. You already stepped into the water. Your body is just late. A cold wave of realization rolled over me. Every share, every view, every pause and replay had been a footstep. I had already moved along this corridor by watching from a distance. Coming here physically was just completing the walk. The jackets in the pool began to sway gently, not in time with any sound I could hear, as if rocked by currents deeper than the water around their knees. My phone buzzed harder. Comments stacked faster than I could read. One floated to the top for longer than the rest. He looks different. Why is his hood down? I glanced at the screen. The camera was facing me now. I had not turned it. I saw my own face, pale and stunned, against the gray sky. Behind me, the pool steamed. I saw something else too. The faint outline of a hood forming around my shoulders in the live preview. A dark shape, as if the app already knew what I would be wearing soon. I took a step backward. The outline flickered. The voice sharpened. If you leave now, you will feel us every time you see still water. You will taste chlorine at the back of your throat whenever you drink. You will hear the crowd move whenever you try to sleep. We will not stop calling. We do not forget our guests. Another thought slid in after that. Quieter. More terrible. Everyone who ever watched these videos is already on the guest list. I turned off my phone. This time, the screen obeyed. The image vanished. The weight of all those unseen eyes remained. I looked down at the path through the water, at the cone, at the hand waiting just at the surface. I pictured what it would feel like to step down into that cloudy blue cold, to wade between those motionless jackets, to reach the point where the hand could reach back. I took one step forward. The crowd leaned in almost imperceptibly. The hand twitched. Then, behind me, a new sound broke the spell. Someone yelling my name. My real name and not my handle. Not my online alias. The librarian from my childhood stood at the top of the stairs. For a second I thought I was hallucinating. Then she marched down, grabbed my arm with surprising strength and pulled me away from the railing. "You do not come to Croydon for jokes," she hissed. "If you are here, you are already halfway in. Do not give them the rest." The corridor through the jackets began to close, not quickly, slow enough to show that they were letting me see that I had almost been allowed in. The cone sank slowly back into the water. The hand did not wave. It just held its position until it disappeared beneath the surface. The roar lessened. The air warmed by a fraction of a degree. The librarian dragged me backward until the crowd vanished behind the curve of the slide structure. My legs shook. My throat ached like I had swallowed pool water. I tried to speak. "What are they?" She shook her head. "Not here. Not where they can hear you." She did not let go of my arm until we had left the park and the gate was clanged shut behind us. She led me through streets that did not loop anymore. The bus stop with the chewing gum appeared only once. The expired billboard finally changed to an advertisement for a phone company. When we reached the train station, she finally answered. "They are occupancy." I frowned. What does that even mean? She looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with age. All that empty infrastructure, all that concrete, all those pools, all those slides put up for a decade and then abandoned because no one wanted to pay for maintenance. Space that does not earn. Space that does not justify itself. Things like that cannot stand being unused. Something else moves in, fills the gaps, uses the shapes. She looked at the billboard where a smiling family splashed in a perfectly clean blue pool. People cannot stand emptiness either, so they make jokes. Croydon Water Park, Croydon Zoo, Croydon Space Center, Croydon everything. Say it enough and something listens. She met my eyes. And then it makes the joke real. I thought of the hand in the water, the collapsing bodies in the jackets, the way the crowd parted when I arrived, as if I had been expected. I thought of my live stream. I thought of the 100,000 views. The librarian must have known what I was thinking, because she put a hand on my shoulder. "Do not go back," she said. "Do not watch any more clips. If you see that pool again, close your eyes. If you hear water where there should be none, leave. And if you ever feel your feet getting wet when you are not near a tap or rain or a puddle, no matter where you are in the world, you run, because that will mean the park has opened under you." The train arrived. I left Croydon. I have not watched another video with the word Croydon in the caption since. But water is everywhere, in glasses, in sinks and gutters, in the rain pooling at the edge of the pavement. Sometimes, when I am walking home at night, I hear a distant roar under the city. Sometimes my breath fogs even when the air is warm. And sometimes when I stand in the shower and close my eyes, I feel the faintest pressure at my ankles, as if cool water is rising around my legs, higher than the floor should allow. When that happens, I keep my eyes shut. I do not look down. I do not listen for voices. I pretend I am somewhere else, because I know that somewhere a crowd in black jackets is standing perfectly still in a filthy pool, waiting for their numbers to be called. And if I open my eyes at the wrong time, or look at the wrong reflection, or answer when the voice behind the water says, "Welcome back," I will not come out wearing my own clothes.